What's going on, world? This is your girl, Marky Lemons-Ryhal, and today, I have the opportunity to interview none other than Thomas Stovall. I was lightweight stalking him online because I know two women who he helped to get them to over seven figures in annual earnings. And so I needed to know what this man was doing because I have never earned seven figures. I've been close, but I never got there. And so today, I am elated to have the opportunity to interview Thomas. What's going on, Thomas?
Hey, Marky. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
Well, I am elated to have you today with Mindset to Money, because definitely it is a mindset. And people often believe that they're doing everything that they need to do to get to the next level and to set their families up. And right now we keep hearing the word legacy, legacy, legacy. I want you to tell a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do, and how did you come up with Mindset to Money?
Okay. A little bit about myself. I'll give y'all the brief backdrop to my career. I am a full-time business owner, obviously. I started my first business in college at the age of 19, out of my dorm room, selling custom wheels and performance tires online from coast to coast, Tennessee State University. And when I say out of my dorm room, I literally do mean out of my dorm room. And I did that all through college, had some great lessons. When I got my electrical engineering degree and never actually used it, mom and dad were quite thrilled with that. And when I was 25, I got an opportunity to go out to LA, and I apprenticed at a real estate private equity investment firm and got a chance to see how money works at the monopoly board level. And that really shifted my perspective. I got to sit in on meetings at the boardroom where the firm presented to multi-billion-dollar investment firms and, asking for bridge capital. I got to sit on the construction floor and watch the properties that they bought, that they purchased across San Bernardino, Riverside, and LA counties. These are residential homes. Got to watch those get renovated, 30, 45-day projects like you see on TV. I got to be at the closing table to see these properties get moved. The entire process, I got to watch it. And for me, the thing that stood out the most was at those tables where they were doing deals and raising capital, making sales, particularly the raising capital, the first 15, 20 minutes of the meetings, it was all relationship building. It was all what schools that people went to and where their kids were attending and where they golfed at and where they vacationed at and what clubs they were a part of. And I was baffled by what's going on, and trying to figure out, because where I came from, you get on a call and we're talking about the money. We're getting to the ROI. What's the deal? And it seemed like this was all just flimsy. What's actually happening? And I pull my manager, I guess, or the guy who I was apprenticing, and I pull him to the side, and I'm like, what actually just happened in this meeting? It didn't seem like y'all talked any business. He's like, son, when you're talking about 7-figure, 8-figure deals and better, to be in the room means you're already vetted. You don't get in this room. You don't know about this room unless you've been sent by somebody. And Chicago is the city of cities of, who sent you. You got to come with a recommendation from somebody. So he's like, when we're in those rooms and at those tables, what we're doing is we're establishing relationship. We're finding out who this person is, because if we're gonna get married from a money perspective, this is deeper than a marriage in many cases. We're going to be locked up together for the next 10, 15 years. It's not just about the deal, it's about the person. And it's always about the person. So what I learned, the lesson there was that relationships are the currency of business, and trust is really what gives that currency its value. I learned that lesson at 25, and I didn't make any money out there, but I got the lessons that really grounded my experience and my perspective as a young entrepreneur. Came back to Chicago a year later, started my own real estate investment firm, worked for 8 months, long enough to get my first $3,000 saved. And when I got clear to close on my first property, October 13th, 2006. I quit that day. I closed on my first investment property October 31st, 2006. I was able to turn that $3,000 into a seven-figure real estate investment firm over the next 18 months, buying and renovating, mostly just refinancing the holding, not doing a whole lot of selling. I was trying to build for the future, but all single-family residential real estate on the south side of Chicago, working-class communities, Inglewood, Auburn Gresham, South Shore, Woodlawn. And what I didn't realize at the time was I started off, my first few properties that I purchased were buildings. They were 3 to 4 unit buildings. And this was a tough lesson for me to learn. This is the days of 100% financing, Marky. You basically just show up and you have a heartbeat, and are you breathing? You can qualify. And so I had a friend who was doing real estate full time and was holding my hand through the process. And I assumed that because he was doing it full time, he kind of had the systems in place that I assumed would be present in a business like that. And once I got into it, I realized that the systems weren't there, the assessment wasn't there, the narratives of buy a 2 or 3 flat in Chicago and you'll always be able to make the rent. It's not the same on the south side when you've got a $400,000 mortgage on a property, 100% financing, and your rents do not look like what they look like on the north side. So that was kind of the backdrop. Never lost money buying a deal or renovating a deal, but over time there were little mistakes that I made that got the snowball rolling downhill. And unfortunately, 3-figure issues in real estate can turn into 4 and 5-figure issues pretty quickly if you don't manage them. So 4 years later, after building that real estate investment firm, I found myself with that house of cards falling. And at 30 years old, I lost everything, several $1 million of real estate, over a dozen properties, had to move, including my own personal residence, which I was so proud of. I had purchased at 27, beautiful 3,000 square foot new construction duplex condo. This was my pride and joy because I had done that myself, and I was gone. I was starting back over, and I moved back in with mom and dad, blessed to have been able to do that. Same stuffed animals I grew up with were waiting for me on my bed. And I was humbled, humiliated to a degree, but I think that I wouldn't trade that lesson for anything because it taught me so much about humility and the fact that the folks that you see going up, you will see coming down, and you need to have treated them the right way because you're going to need to ask somebody for something. And it took me a couple years to go through one of the darkest times of my life and looking back and, figuring out what to do next. But I transitioned into technology. I was able to leverage relationships from Tennessee State and get a microfeedback platform built, to software app for enterprises. Didn't make no money. Worked on it for 6-7 years. Got some enterprise clients. Got a patent. Got 14 trademarks. But did not make a single cent. Poured everything that I made back into that business. So lots of really important lessons there. As a Black founder, I got tired of being the only brown person in rooms. I ended up building out a membership organization in my spare time called I'm Black in Tech. And it was to support, celebrate, and educate Black founders because I felt like I needed to have that connection to that network and be able to look out and see people who look like me who were building. And I knew other people needed it too. And that network organically grew to close to 6,000 founders across 16 countries who raised and generated close to $500 million in their startups. But again, I didn't make no money. It was all supporting everybody else. So there's this through line in my life of, working and learning and understanding relationship. But I was either making money and losing it or working on projects that were making impact but making no money. I kept falling into these pitfalls. And around 2018, I happened into the online education space because, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, a little bit through the interview, but there was a young lady who was in one of my masterminds who she wanted to do $1 million that year. She ended up coming out of my mastermind and doing $3 million and 10 million the next, and I think 10 million the next. So is now one of the most recognizable people in the online education space. But at that point, when I saw under the hood of her business, I said, you know what, I'm cheating my family, I'm cheating my community by not taking the time to really understand how to leverage the attraction-based marketing and sales principles and strategies that I've learned in the online space. And I spent a couple years doing that. Took the framework that I built and was able to drop that on someone's business who you and I know, Danielle Pierce. Danielle then went to over 7 figures in her online course. And that same year, we cut her sales staff. We fired all of her sales staff, cut her ads off while taking her to 7 figures. And she made the mistake of going in, I think it was Ebony or something like that. And they asked her how she grew so quickly. And she said, Thomas K.R. Stovall. And then the phone started ringing inbound. And that was around the time where she posted something, you got in my inbox, and then the rest is history. So that's the backdrop of, and in our communities, we're mostly not taught about this. We are taught to hustle, to grind. You got to be willing to build a business. You got to have that ambition. You got to work. You got to blood, sweat, and tears. This is the narrative. And for many of us, that's true. But I've been blessed to now start joining some masterminds, some investor masterminds where the folks in the room are ultra high net worth. Now, I'm not ultra high net worth. I hope to get there, but I'm learning from folks who are. I'm learning from folks who, they invest for a living. And what I see is they are not hustling. They're not grinding. They are deploying capital, and their money works for them. They send their money out and they have it come back with friends. And once I saw that, I started to get interested, like I was in online education. Let me start to do a deep dive and understand how it works to send money out. And as I started getting some of these deals, my warm network, because I always share. I'm always gonna share what I'm doing. Folks start reaching out and saying, those deals look pretty good. Can you show me how you are doing that? Can you get me into some of these deals? So we made it a membership and start opening up the invitation opportunities. When I get into a deal, when Danielle gets into a deal, we vet it first. We put our own money at risk. We make sure that it is what we thought it was. And then if it is, we bring it to our community inside of our defined framework to help people understand if you can just buy revenue streams, whether that's a passive income generating asset or a automated revenue recurring business that you're buying that's online, you can just literally replace your earned income with automated income. And 1 to 2 purchase transactions, you might accelerate your retirement by 15, 20 years. And it's a simple concept, but it's something that, it's not anything we've ever discussed in our communities that I've seen. And that's what Mindset to Money is about. It's the education, but it's also the access to the real deals that we are actively doing.
So I think it's been 3 years now. You are probably the only person who just gave me, well, no, what you said is that is a no for now. So I need to be clear. You are very clear, right? The most detailed emails and text messages I've ever received in my entire life come from you. But one of the reasons, and I am in Mindset to Money, I have purchased one of those income generating passive incomes, but it is because basically in 2 years, you added through your systems an additional $500,000 in gross income to my already existing income. So when I see the idea, and I've already made essentially $500,000 at a 3% cost of goods sold and a 59.4% profitability, I'm like, let me take some of this money and invest it over here in this passive stream because I already know that your systems work, right? And the fact that you are willing to share, but let me say this, the reason I reached out to you in the first place was because for me, Danielle had vetted you because I knew her when, right? I knew her before she birthed her first child, right? I knew that she had 3 children, breastfeeding them, relocated, right? Life has shifted. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, and she made 7 figures in the midst of essentially a storm, and she still made 7 figures. So I'm like, look, I trust Danielle, okay? I'm going to go and see what Thomas is about. And it's your honesty and your candor, right? And the fact that when you told me no, you meant it and you stood on it, right? Because I'm sitting here, I'm still baffled after 3 years, right? And so you have a title, and my husband even knows your title, the man who told Marky no, right? But it didn't matter that you told me no if the systems worked, right? You earned the right to be able to tell me no. So we had the opportunity, right, to buy a high ticket e-commerce site. And when you go back to the levels, I took away levels to this relationship building first. When I was able to pick up a telephone and call Ross Brunson, the father of Russell Brunson, to help me set up a company in a way I had never set a company up before. And here's the reason why you're setting it up this way. I'm like, that's a part of what I paid for.
Yep.
It was the fact, let me tell you, be clear, because it wasn't at a time that I wanted to necessarily spend any money because of household related issues. Now, let me just say it, because my oldest son became gainfully unemployed, right? So I'm like, he gonna need my help. Let me hold on to my money. But here's the thing, I'm the backup plan. So because I'm the backup plan, then I need to put things in order. Everybody got to make a sacrifice, right? To be able to have access to a room that I've never had access to. And instantly, I realized through buying the high ticket e-commerce site that I was in a different room, right? So when we think about mindset to money and the fact that it's a membership, tell people what is something that they get. And access is definitely one of them. And it's levels to this, right? So I'm just scratching the surface right now. Like, I'm glad to just be in the room. Okay. What does that mean? And what could somebody anticipate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you think about the I'm gonna start with the tangibles. So I'm in $100,000 worth of masterminds this year, and it's 4 different ones. Some of them are business related. One of them is the investor mastermind I told you about. This is my second year in that group. It's $50,000 a year to participate, and that does not include capital for you to then go out and make your investments. This is just to be in that room and to get the education. But as I go and learn, and Danielle goes and learns from the groups that we're in, from the deals that we're doing, number one, we take the the information that we're gathering from being in those rooms, and we bring it right back to the network. We have calls, we have membership calls where everything is transparent. Anything you want to ask us about our finances, how we raise the kids inside of being entrepreneurs and investors, our taxes, we are very transparent, and we share what we're learning in these 6-figure rooms. So number one, for folks who can't afford to be in those rooms, or for the folks who, from a mindset perspective, just have not gotten to the place where they're willing to invest those kind of dollar amounts to learn, to get that extra little 5% of knowledge, we're willing to make that investment for the folks who are in our community. And the dollar amount that we charge, which right now is $197 per year, and definitely will go up. Just if you're watching a recording of this at some point in time later down the road, that 197 is where we started, because we always believe in just giving the evidence first. But you get access to so much knowledge, and it's 197 per year. We pay, in this case, 6 figures or better yearly just to get access to this information. Number two, the people who we meet in those rooms and the specialized knowledge that they have, we bring it back. So I know Ernest, who we were able to buy the high ticket e-commerce businesses from, buy those revenue streams. I know Ernest through a mastermind that I've been in for the last 3 years, and have been in proximity to him, have been able to build that relationship and that trust, which is why I bought, the first 6-figure business from him, and Danielle did. And once we brought it to the network. But the only reason that's there is because we invested our time and our attention in another mastermind. Ross, I know through Ernest. And so when we bought the e-commerce business, Ross was the person who does all the entity structure for Ernest, and everybody got to know him. And so all of this relationship, mindset to get in the door, relationship to build something. And then once we have those relationships, Ross just did a masterclass last week from Mindset to Money on how to create your multi-generational private family bank, the exact four entity structure that you need in order to do that and become a legacy family inside of 1 to 2 generations, just like the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers in terms of structure. Now, you may not have $100 million, but if you have the structure, you can get to 7 and 8 figures literally inside of one generation, and you learn the practical application of that. So you get access to the knowledge, you get access to the people, because we hold master classes every single month where we bring in folks from these rooms to teach highly specific topics related to growing your earnings, earned income, growing your automated income, setting up the investment structures that you need to produce true generational wealth and true legacy structures. The master classes are there. And we also have resources that are available, like actual budgeting tools that I've created from scratch to manage my money. We have investment analysis overviews that are detailed for if you're buying a business or looking at an investment opportunity or even just a business partnership opportunity. Every question you need to ask in the order you need to ask them to qualify that information for yourself. It's just a suite of tools, relationships, and access to deals that is unmatched on the internet. And you get a beautiful membership dashboard too that walks you through our 5-step process to really identify what's your financial autonomy figure, what's the gap between your earned income and your automated income, what's your plan, what's your date, what are the exact next steps. This is a tangible conversation, Marky. It's not subjective like we see a lot of times on the internet. Generational wealth, and we don't really know what that means. Financial quote unquote financial freedom. There's no date and time for what that looks like or dollar amount. We make the conversation very tangible so people know how to get to financial autonomy and quickly inside of 5 years or less.
So when I purchased my high ticket e-commerce site, let me say this, I definitely knew that I wanted to have access and be in a different room. I also realized through what I was going to learn, its impact to my existing businesses, right? So in my new business, right, Kitchen Direct Company, it's going to have credit built for it, but we got the systems to go back essentially in every company you already have, what you need to do to restructure that company to build, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of credit. So I happen to already have had 2 different companies that I took those same principles that I applied it to. So if you get $300,000 worth of credit in this one company, now you have 2 other companies, right? Mm-hmm. That you're following that structure and you almost have $1 million worth of credit. That would be one of the things, right? But then it's also the access to understanding, because you're getting the different paperwork, right? How a company is set up and the reason it's set up this way. So then if you were going to ever start a new company, you would say, I want to either use this person or this is the structure that needs to be used and why I am using it. So not only did I get this high ticket e-commerce site, I'm essentially restructuring 2 existing companies to act or mirror the company that's being set up, right? That was well worth, and let me be clear, I spent $50,000. That was well worth the $50,000 investment because it's changing every entity that I already owned,
That's
plus
right.
giving me a new passive stream of income to help fund my retirement, or as wealth strategists would say, right? You really don't, you want to retire, but you want your money right to match your free time, to give me these passive incomes that will then definitely pass to the next generation of people. And I think one other thing that stood out is who to hire, where to hire them from, right? All of that was taught to me inside of Mindset to Money, but I had to change my mind first, right? So a part of this is who you surround yourself with, what are you consuming, what are your thoughts? And this year, people have joked because I will stop, pause, and take a deep breath because I need to get out of my own way. a part of the problem is yourself, right?
Mm.
So learning how to get out of your own way. One thing that we talked about, or I called you last week, and it was how much are you spending in Facebook ads? Because I talked to someone and they gave me a figure that was substantially less than what you were spending because someone wanted, let's say they were 1,000. Let's say somebody talking about 5,000. Let's say you talking about 10,000 per month, just to get me to that middle ground. But I've never had any ad spend. So I made $500,000 in 2 years at a 3% cost of goods sold because I had no ad spend. But in order for me to scale, I need to put some money behind some ads. I got to get my mindset right? To scale. Girl, going to spend the money for the ads, right? Because it's a cost of doing business to bring you more visibility and higher income. Might not be at the same cost of goods sold, but your income will still outpace what it is that you're currently earning. And that's some good stuff, right? And there's a joy that comes from being in a room of like-minded people. And I say that because I was born and raised on 59th and State Street, still have very strong ties to the Inglewood community. There's a different mindset, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about limits, right? We're talking about possibilities. And essentially, anything is possible. And that is a shift in mindset that sometimes you have to change your sphere of influence and put yourself around people who one are doing it, right? But their support for doing things never seen and or experienced, right? And sometimes it's a cost to learn that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to tell people where they need to come to, right? Because I feel like we've been to church today. We've been to business church today, right? Get married from a money perspective, right? Which is a whole different type of marriage. I don't think it's a loving marriage. It's a business marriage, right? That you talked about. And what I think stood out was how we vet people. And because we're from Chicago, I was joking the other day as the federal political coordinator for Jonathan Jackson. And I said, well, they said, well, what college did he go to? I said, in Chicago, it doesn't matter. He went to Whitney Young, right? I said, and they said, the high school? I was like, yes, Whitney Young is his own vetting system. They don't care what college you went to. If you went to Whitney Young, that is good enough. If you were a Dolphin, right, in the city of Chicago. And so definitely we need to vet people. So how do people join Mindset to Money just to get started, to change? And look, that price, say that price again.
Yeah, it's $197 per year, not per month. Per year.
Lord, sweet Jesus.
And y'all need to understand that is not because your boy has any problem knowing my worth, charging my worth. I don't roll out of bed for any sort of anything less in general it's 5 figures. If you want to work with me in a coaching capacity, group trainings, it's all 5 figures and up. And this, be clear about it. Mindset to Money is a 5-figure offer. The value is there all day long. This is our life's work. We want this available to people because 20 years ago, I wish somebody would have given me the keys, the access like we're giving people. And we just want to make it accessible. But people do pay attention to what they pay for. So it's $197 for now. It will go up, no doubt about it. But people can find it at mindset2money.com. And that's not the number 2, that's TO. So mindset2money.com. But Marky, if we have a few more minutes, can I actually speak to the mindset part just a little bit here?
Oh, I would love for you to speak to the mindset part. Yes.
We named the company Mindset to Money for a very particular reason. And it's because over my close to 25 years now as an entrepreneur, what I know now more than ever is mindset is bottom line, like full stop, the thing that keeps us from getting where we are trying to go. Nothing else, period. And a lot of times we don't have access to the tools to shift our perspective, to open up our view and know that more is possible. So there's a way for you to systematically shift those views or put yourself in environments where the predictability of you shifting those views goes up. That percentage goes up where it's likely that you will see things a new way. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. So Ernest Epps, we brought his group, High Ticket E-commerce Secrets. We've done 3 masterclasses in Mindset to Money with Ernest. And those 3 masterclasses, we've, over about a 90-day time period, we had less than 100 people total across those 3 masterclasses. So very, very highly qualified, very vetted. We spent no money on ads, nothing like that. And we generated just under $1.5 million for Ernest, excuse me, through the Mindset to Money network of people viewing his masterclass on how to buy a high ticket e-commerce business from his company and what it looked like. And folks raised their hand and said, "Me, please. Thank you. I'll take one of those." So we did that work for Ernest, and he showed up and he was great. But we did the whole structure to generate those closed sales just under 1.5 million in 90 days. Now, there's people who I could pull aside and say, you know what, based on your social media, based on the engagement, based on the number of people you have in your email list, based on, your identity in the marketplace and your track record, I can tell you for a fact that, and Marky, this is true, that if you do these things in the next 14 days, there's no way that you make less than 6 figures, right? That's what I did with Marky, and Marky went out and made not just 6, she did, I think, 123,000 in 14 days, something like that. And that is not uncommon, right? Because that's an area of expertise I have. I'm studying that. I know how to help people turn their expertise into passive income online. And so for Ernest to, over a few masterclasses, do 1.5 million, it's not out of bounds. This is what I know how to do. But there are people who I could say, looking at what you do and who you are in the marketplace, I can make you 1.5 million in 90 days. And you know what they would say? Scam. They would say scam. They would run the other direction, quickly cross the street and say there's no possible way, right? But there are other people in that $50,000 per year investment group I'm in who I might say, I can make you 1.5 million in 90 days. And they would say, "Oh, Thomas, I'm so sorry, man. That's all. I don't roll out of bed for less than, $1 million a week," right? Because their context, their mindset is in a whole different place. What's the difference between these two people? The only difference is they've had a different set of experiences that have grounded them in different realities, and their mindset is, what's possible for me is this or is not that. And one person says $1 million a week is possible and probable based on my knowledge and based on the rooms I'm in. And I don't even roll out of bed unless I can deploy capital that's going to get me that. And another person would say, there's no way I can make 1.5 in 90 days or in 90 years. So what we try to focus on is not just the mindset, but giving people practical blueprints, practical tools that deal with the human design. We believe what we can see. So don't trust us. We will show you the exact step-by-step for any claims that we make. We'll show you the people who are doing it. We'll show you the money being deployed. We'll talk transparently, because how do I expect people to believe something if I don't show them the behind the scenes, the behind the red carpet? So that mindset part, it is critical. And it's why all of our programs are set up where even if you're starting with no cash at all, you start with a $21 ebook. We've got something called Baby Steps to Financial Freedom. It's 30 plus recession-proof side hustles to generate an extra $1,000 to $1,500 per month every month. That's transformative, right? If you're making $30,000 a year and you give yourself $1,000 per month raise, that's $12,000 additionally per year. Where do you get to give yourself that kind of raise? That's transformative for a family. But if you have done that, you're ready to kind of level up momentum. We've got a $547 per year membership called Side Hustle Heavy. It is the exact same side hustles that we give you in that $21 ebook, but Danielle does live video trainings once per month. You got a full membership community that's national of other people focused on the same side hustle every month for the whole 30 days, sharing best practices, learning from each other, gathering momentum. But once you do that, now you've got the community that you need. You're not on your own anymore. What happens when you're ready to graduate from side hustle to business? You want to increase your earned income, because as much as we talk about automated income, until you've got cash or credit, you're not in a position to be able to purchase assets or purchase businesses. Well, you've got to increase your earned income. And we don't want you to go back to school for 2, 3, 4 years and get a slight bump in pay. We've built programs like Property Preservation Mastery, which is Danielle's first program, which is part of our program structure, where that's $2,500, but it shows you how from your living room to generate an extra 6 figures per year, managing third-party contractors to do repairs on bank-owned properties, and you can get there in 12 to 18 months. Now you got a business, right? You got real income, and you're doing it from your living room. You got your time. Where do you put the money now that you've got the business? That's where you can start to use some of that surplus to then deploy in ways where your money's working for you, buying assets, buying businesses. So every step of the way, Marky, we're trying to give people, regardless of where they start from, the step-by-step process to go from literally, if you are broke and can't rub 2 nickels together, you can start with a $21 ebook and within 5 years have leveled your way up to business, to then buying a business, to then creating your private family bank, to then funding your private family bank with non-direct recognition, whole life insurance, just like the Rockefellers do. This is a whole structure. We're trying to transform the face of black money and black wealth in our communities. That's what it looks like. That's Mindset to Money.
And I love it. So my next step, and of course I ran into a medical issue that we're resolving, is that I'm definitely going to have my own banking system. One of my goals is to create 3 Black male millionaires, my husband and my 2 sons. I'm on the right path. That is a goal, not for them just to have the money to do whatever they want to do, because I got rules to my hard work, right? But the fact that it will put them in a whole different space moving forward and change their ability to be able to provide for my grandchildren and for my great-grandchildren in the same manner that my grandfather has done with Lem's Barbecue, because definitely some of my ability to change my mindset came from my grandfather, right? Coming out of Mississippi with nothing, with 1 pair of shoes and holes in them, and just to see the growth over, 2 generations and what I plan to do with the knowledge and the entrepreneurship spirit that he brought to everything that he has done. Everybody, I want you to come join us, because everything that we need already exists over in Mindset to Money, not the number 2. You can go mindsettomoney.com, also /Marky, as we are down for growth of Mindset to Money to share everything so that we can really leave a legacy, not speak about leaving a legacy. Thomas, thank you for all that you do and for changing my life, because I give credit to everybody who pours into me. And I thank you. It wasn't a permanent no. It was just a no for now. And now I am clear. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Marky. Thank you.